What's happening around the world and what's happening here at home? A very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Parliament to debate and decide on the administration of Sri Lanka cricket. Parliament leaders agree to call for a vote. Sports Minister makes a startling revelation on the Sri Lanka cricket administration. Sri Lanka cricket rejects the allegations, citing them as baseless, and alleges the interim committee had taken away the documents. US Ambassador says Exim Bank restructuring proposal must be shared with other creditors. Adani Sri Lanka Port Terminal project gets over $500 million in funding. Protests against move to convert Nuwara and Kandy post office buildings into hotels. CEO of the NMRA removed.
In our top story for tonight, party leaders have decided to debate matters including the removal of the current office bearers of the Sri Lanka Cricket Board, presenting a new act and other crises faced by Sri Lanka cricket, and, if required, vote on it in Parliament tomorrow. The party leaders reached this decision following a proposal made by the opposition after Minister of Sports Roshan Ranasinghe made a special statement in Parliament today. The Sports Minister stressed that the President must choose between the Chairman of Sri Lanka Cricket Shammi Silva and the Minister of Sports.
මෙම ආසියානු ක්‍රිකට් සංගමේ සභාපති ජේෂා වෙත විශේෂ ලිපියක් යටතේ මා විසින් යොමු කරා. ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් ආයතනයේ සිදු කරනු ලබ
I wrote a special letter to the President of the Asian Cricket Council, Jay Shah, regarding all the irregularities at the SLC. I wrote to him saying that they are attempting to cover up these crimes and requested him to take steps to prevent this from becoming a diplomatic issue. This corrupt group are covering under Jay Shah. When Jay Shah came to Sri Lanka, I asked the Indian High Commissioner to grant me an audience with him. I forwarded the audit report of the SLC to all 11 full members of the ICC. However, I am sad about certain things that took place when I was taking these steps. If I'm a member of the government, I have a responsibility to protect the President. There are criticisms that have been levelled in the past. There was criticism against PB Jayasundara, but we got a good secretary to the President now, Samaneka Nayaka. But I can see that there is someone here who is trying to destroy the President. Therefore, I stress that these corrupt individuals must not be allowed to get close to the President. A statement was issued that I hadn't consulted the President or the Cabinet before I took this decision. If that is the case, then I should be a person who doesn't know my subject. When this matter was taken up in court, the lawyer used this to his advantage as well. I know which decisions I should seek Cabinet approval for. I also know what matters that I should seek approval from the President. The judiciary in this country is very clean and pure. Before the current President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Bandula Karunaratne, became the President of the Court of Appeal, he only sat on benches that heard criminal matters. He did not adjudicate on writ applications. The current President of the Court of Appeal had, in addition to hearing criminal matters, also opted to hear writ applications. This was done very unusually, with the intention of hearing matters regarding Sri Lanka cricket from the third quarter of 2022. I table in Parliament the circular issued by the President of the Court of Appeal in this regard. This circular was issued on the same date that Justice Bandula Karunaratne assumed the office of the President of the Court of Appeal. Further, according to their conduct depicted in videos on social media, it is clear that Asela Rakava, who is a consultant of SLC and a very close friend of the SLC board, as well as Shammi Silva, had appeared in matters regarding the SLC before the Court of Appeal as soon as Bandula Karunaratne was appointed as the President of the Court of Appeal. Bandula Karunaratne is married to the sister of the mother of Asela Rakava. Bandula Karunaratne's wife and Asela Rakava's mother are sisters. This is Asela Rakava with Shammi. These are members of his family. On this side is Bandula Karunaratne. Arya Rakava is here, Asela Rakava's father. Elsie Rakava is here. She is the aunt of Asela Rakava. Asela Rakova is the conflict of interest at SLC. There are many conflicts of interest here. I issued a gazette, and because of the conflict of interest between the SLC and the Justice of the Court of Appeal, they acted contrary to the rules of natural justice and issued a biased stay order. The notice informing us of that decision was delivered to the ministry at about 11:10 a.m. I got it at 11:10 a.m. I received information that such a decision is going to be made. I was extremely helpless at that time. I called the Attorney General over 5 times. I told him that I wanted to appear in court as this matter is going to go in the favor of a corrupt group. He said that he cannot appear for me without anything in writing. I spoke with Manohara. He said that he cannot appear without the concurrence of the Attorney General. The Attorney General has evaded this. That is the truth.
නීතිපතිතුමාගේ උපදෙස් නැතුව මට පෙනී ඉන්න බෑ කියලා. නීතිපතිතුමා මග ඇරියා. මේක තමයි ඇත්ත කතාව.
අධිකරණයේ නිෂ්ඨකාරවුන්ගේ පුද්ගලික පැවැත්ම හා නම් සඳහන් කරමින් කරන කටයුත්ත අත්හැරලා කටයුතු කරනවා නම් හොඳයි කියලා මුලාසනයේ හැටියට අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා. නෑ කෝල් කරේ නෑ 83 එක වගන්තියේ තියෙන කාරණයක් සම්බන්ධව සඳහන් කරේ.
ඉතා පිරිසිදු අධිකරණ පද්ධතියක් මේ රටේ තියෙන. යම් මොහොතක අක්‍රමිකතාවයක් වෙනවා.
The judiciary of Sri Lanka is clean. If there is some irregularity, if we can't speak about it here, where can we speak about it? I request for him to be summoned to the Ethics and Privileges Committee. Also, it can be stated that influence was exerted by certain responsible officials at the Presidential Secretariat or advisors to the President to induce this decision. Also, I feel that the President has not been informed of the steps that the Minister of Sports can take under the Sports Act to prevent sports clubs from engaging in wrongdoings. There needs to be a few people who speak on behalf of cricket here. The President can make a decision. Does he want Buki Shammi or Roshan Ranasinghe? It is very simple. Choose one out of the two. Look inside the Presidential Secretariat as well. Who sent out a press release in the morning saying that neither the President nor the Cabinet was informed of this? There are many things that are taking place that the President is not aware of. In the face of all of these corrupt activities, I only ask for one thing. Conduct a forensic audit from 2018. You will not be able to find an end to the corrupt activities that they carried out. The cricket players are not the ones involved in match fixing. It is the officials of the sports unions. Therefore, no matter what we do, Jay Shah is the person who has much of the powers at the ICC. If he is asked to create an issue for Sri Lanka, our cricket could be suspended. They say that political influence is being exerted. How did I exert influence? These people are so strong that they can even threaten a minister of this country. They are always with underworld gangs. When the president went to watch the LPL, the person behind the president was a member of an underworld gang. What about his safety? When the president is seated and watching the LPL, it is Shami Silva's bodyguard, a member of an underworld gang, who is standing behind the president. This is the head of state. How did they do this when the head of state was present there? Next, when I went to Dubai to meet the Rugby Federation, when I was there, 2 of my friends sent me messages asking me to be cautious, as these people were waiting to plant some drugs in my bag once I got to Dubai. Why did they want to do that? They wanted to destroy my image on social media. Then they are threatening us with the underworld. When I went to Dubai, I had to get a person to stand watch at my door. I had to be extremely cautious. That is the situation. They will do anything to cover up their corrupt activities. What is our risk here? How can we allow such a corrupt group to go unchecked? I request for the support of Parliament to be given to the ICC to stop the suspension from happening.
පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ සහයෝගය ඕන මේගොල්ලොන්ගෙන් මේක නවත්ත ගන්න තහනම් කරගන්න එක නවත්ත ගන්න. මං කියන එක තක්කඩි තීන්දුවක්. පැහැදිලිවම ඊයේ දවසේ සිදුුනේ මහා ඛේදවාචකයක්.
I must say that this is a very cunning decision. What happened yesterday is a complete disaster. The corrupt group that is currently in charge of SLC is attempting to paint a completely wrong picture in the eyes of the ICC. The 225 in Parliament can change this situation. The false decisions and false court cases are now very clear. The name of the mastermind behind this plan was not mentioned. The Cricket Act of Sri Lanka must undergo changes. We are ready to give our fullest support to Sports Minister Roshan Ranasinghe to do the needful. We are making a request to the President, not the Sports Minister, to make a statement in this regard. The 225 of us can work with the President and pass a resolution. Let's do it using the powers vested in the Parliament. We must send home this corrupt group at SLC. Can we not pass a resolution suspending the standing orders?
නඩු තීන්දුව කෙසේ වෙතත් මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ උත්තරීතර බලය පාවිච්චි කරලා මේ හොර ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් හොර කල්ලිය අපි ගෙදර යවන්නට ඕන. ස්ථාවර නියෝග සස්පෙන්ඩ් කරලා ඇයි අපිට බැරි යෝජනාවක් සම්මත කරගන්න? අපි මේ වෙලාව දුන්නේ
We give time to carry out items in the agenda, not to listen to long speeches. As a minister representing the government, I fully support his statement. However, you must manage the rest. You only talk about things, then you disagree. This might even go on until 10 or 11 in the night.
මේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් එකේ හොර දූෂිත කල්ලිය එළවා දමන යෝජනාව ක්‍රියාත්මක කරමු.
හරි බොහොම
මම
ස්තුතියි.
යෝජනා කරනවා. ස්ථාවර නියෝගات හිටවලා අපි මේ යෝජනාව සම්මත කරගනිමු.
හොඳයි බොහොම
අද
ස්තුතියි.
දවසේ එක කරමු. මන්ත්‍රීවරු 20ක් ලකිట్లా විපක්ෂ නායකතුමාගේ යෝජනාව අනුමත කරන්න නැගිටින්න. 20ක්.
ඔව්.
Wait! You have done the mistake and you are trying to correct. You නෑ කේන්ති මොකද්ද පිස්සු කරන්න එපා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට පිස්සු කරන්න එපා. 20 members කියලා නැගිට්ටේ. අපිත් ඉන්නවා ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. 20 members යටතේ ඔබතුමා පිළිගන්නව නම් මේක වැදගත් කියලා අවසරය දෙත හැකි. හැබැයි ඒ කාල වේලාවත් ස්ථාවර නියෝගයේ තියෙනවා. මේක නිකන් මේ ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර්ස් අස්සේ අර
Do not attempt to hide behind the standing order. Do not turn this into a motion to adjourn the assembly. We invite not only opposition members but also all government parliamentarians to join hands for this common cause. Sports Minister, do you agree?
එකතු වෙන්න. ක්‍රීඩාවතුමා
ගරු සංවිධායකතුමාගේ
මම ඊයේ
Yesterday, I made it clear in the House how corrupt the board of SLC is. I invited everyone to join hands to rebuild the country's economy. Those who refused to help then are now back with the intention of taking advantage of the situation.
ගත්ත අය අද උත්සාහ කරනවා මේක පිට දාගෙන කටයුතු කරන්න. කට වහගෙන වාඩි වෙනවා ඉතින් පිස්සක් වගේ තමයි කවුද කියලා මම දන්නවා.
Sit down. We gave you time to carry out the agenda of the day. We will help. We will not just idle. Whatever proposal you bring it systematically.
ඉන්නේ අපි උදව් කරනවා. ගේන යෝජනාව ක්‍රමානුකූලව කරන්න. ඒ සඳහා
If we have your blessings, you could talk to Sports Minister Roshan Ranasinghe and the Prime Minister and let's pass this resolution tomorrow itself. The 225 of us can unite for this.
125ම ඇවිල්ලා. හරි. හෙටම සම්මත කරගනිමු. මගේ ඉල්ලීමත්
My suggestion is that we suspend the other proceedings of the House today and continue this discussion in Parliament today. And tomorrow, as suggested by the opposition leader, we will submit a resolution and work to pass that resolution with the approval of the 225 in Parliament.
ඒ යෝජනාව සම්මත කරන්නත් ක්‍රියා කරමු. අපේ යෝජනාවත් කරුණාකර මේක මගහරින්න.
Instead of taking this to the point where cricket is the main issue in the country, understand that this is a national issue and this is an issue about a weakness of the law in Sri Lanka. I request you to agree to this debate.
කියන තැනට ගෙනල්ලා මේ විවාදයට එකඟත්වය ප්‍රකාශ කරන්නයි කියලා ඔබතුමා ඊටම ගෞරවයෙන් ඉල්ලීමක් කරනවා.
Accordingly, a meeting of the party leaders was held in the parliament where it was decided that the debate requested by the opposition would be held tomorrow. At the end of the debate, if necessary, the party leaders have also decided to hold a vote on the proposal, including on the removal of the current cricket administration.
The ruling faction and the opposition reached a decision to move a joint proposal to remove the board of Sri Lanka Cricket. The ruling faction and the opposition prepared it together and then handed it over to the speaker. The debate will take place tomorrow morning and we will present the motion and second it. The vote will take place at 5:30 in the evening.
ආණ්ඩු පක්ෂයෙන් ඒක ස්ථිර කරනවා පාමාට ඡන්දයක් තියෙනවා.
The Sri Lanka Cricket Administration convened a media briefing and responded to the allegations made by the sports minister.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් විධායක කමිටුව ගැන
In a situation where there are various rumors and opinions with regard to the executive committee of SLC, it is our duty to explain the real situation. Our statements are not 100% political stories. This is the truth. We have proof. We cannot get away by lying. Although SLC and the sports minister worked in cooperation for the past year and a half, his vision and ideologies changed all of a sudden. I can assume that he has been completely misled by giving false and incorrect information. He says that we are petty thieves, that there are people here who steal so much that the level of theft is insurmountable. The minister made these allegations based on a report given by the Auditor General. Nowhere in this is there any mention that we have stolen, done anything illegal, or that there are matters that deserve punishment. There are only recommendations in this. We have already started to carry out these recommendations. We are ordinary citizens, not politicians. We are ready to make the necessary explanations anytime.
නමුත් අපිට ඇවිල්ලා මේ පැහැදිලි කිරීම කරලා දෙන්න පුළුවන්.
අපි ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් විධායක කමිටුව වෙනුවෙන්
We declare on behalf of the Sri Lanka Cricket Executive Committee that the Executive Committee has not committed any kind of irregularity or abuse. We insist that there is no mention of any misuse of funds or any irregularity. The implementation of the recommendations of this full report is expected to be completed in December 2023. We have implemented over 50%. For the first time in the history of Sri Lanka cricket, regarding the accounts of Sri Lanka cricket for the financial year ended in December 2022, the Auditor General informed that it shows a fair and transparent condition in accordance with the standards of its financial performance. The Executive Committee believes that it is essential to go for the ICC Cricket World Cup, which is held once in every 4 years. This had happened before. Accordingly, we informed the Sports Minister about this. The Secretary of the Ministry asked us what the cost would be. We let the Secretary know what the cost would be. Accordingly, he clearly approved the amount. Accordingly, we went for the ICC Cricket World Cup 2023. No money has been spent on an individual who is not part of the Executive Committee. We must make this clear. If it is revealed that we have spent money on anyone who is not in the committee, the Executive Committee is willing to resign immediately.
අපේ මුළු විධායක කමිටුව ඒ මොහොතේම ඉල්ලාස් වෙන්න සූදානම්.
Sri Lanka Cricket said that members of the interim committee, who were briefly in operation after their appointment, have removed vital project-related payment vouchers and documentation from SLC premises. SLC said it strongly disapproves of the behaviour exhibited by the said members, who advocated the importance of good governance and transparency. Sri Lanka Cricket emphasised that if these materials are not returned immediately, SLC will be compelled to initiate legal action against those responsible. In a separate statement, SLC said it has taken a proactive step to invite respected individuals appointed by the Minister of Sports through a recent Gazette notification to form an independent committee. The committee will consist of the following distinguished members: retired Supreme Court Judge S.I. Imam, retired Supreme Court Judge Rohini Marasinghe, and retired High Court Judge Irangani Pereira. The draft bill to introduce a new constitution to Sri Lanka cricket, drafted by a committee headed by Justice K.T. Chitrasiri, was handed over to the Cabinet subcommittee appointed to resolve Sri Lanka cricket issues. The President's Media Division said that it was handed over by President Secretary Saman Ekanayake on the instructions of the President. Recently, the Cabinet of Ministers decided to appoint a special subcommittee with the mandate to examine the current situation on Sri Lanka cricket. The members of this subcommittee include Minister Ali Sabri as the chairman and Ministers Kanchana Wijesekara, Manu Shananakara and Tiran Alas.
The U.S. International Development Finance Corporation announced it has committed more than $500 million to support the development of a deep-water shipping container terminal in the port of Colombo with India's Adani Group. The project was launched together by the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone Limited and John Keel's Holdings.
The launch of the $553 million in financing for the Colombo West International Terminal took place in the presence of Scott Nathan, the CEO of the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation in Colombo. U.S. Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chung, Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Gopal Bagle, representatives Adani Ports and SEZ Limited and John Keel's Holdings, as well as Foreign Minister President's Counsel Ali Sabri were present for the launch event. DFC CEO Scott Nathan said Sri Lanka is one of the world's key transit hubs, with half of all container ships transiting through its waters, and DFC's commitment of $553 million in private sector loans for the West Container Terminal will expand its shipping capacity, creating greater prosperity for Sri Lanka.
CWIT is going to make a difference going forward to help the global economy and especially to help the people here in Sri Lanka. DFC is open for business in Sri Lanka. In the last 4 years, we've taken our portfolio of investments from $20 million to now nearly $1 billion. And we're just getting started. We're involved in the agricultural sector, food processing. We're involved in education and healthcare. We're deeply involved in supporting small businesses through our support for financial institutions, support women's economic empowerment, a key element of economic development. But we're looking for more projects. This kind of large-scale infrastructure project is a fantastic example, and I'm sure is going to lead to more. And that's all in the context of the long-term relationship between the United States and Sri Lanka. We're celebrating 75 years of that relationship. I know that for decades and centuries to come, we're going to be close partners, and today we're celebrating a great concrete example of that.
Karan Adani, the CEO of Adani Ports and SEZ Limited, commented on the launch and its potential.
Just over 2 years ago, the Adani Group, John Keel's Holding, and the Sri Lankan Port Authority came together to work on the Colombo West International Terminal, or CWIT. Today, that joint strategic initiative is gaining a very powerful tailwind from the US International Development Finance Corporation. We welcome the association of the DFC in funding the Adani's project. Further, this will be the largest FDI into Sri Lanka through a single project. As one of the world's largest port developer and operator, Adani Port and SEZ brings to this project not only our proven world-class expertise, but also our deep experience in infrastructure creation. When completed, this project will transform the socio-economic landscape not just in Colombo, but across the island, through thousands of direct and indirect new employment opportunities and by massively boosting Sri Lanka's trade and commerce ecosystem. The project will transform us too, as it comfortably aligns with Adani Port and SEZ's journey to become largest container terminal operator in the Indian subcontinent region. With its naturally advantageous location, Colombo is a key transshipment waypoint in the Indian Ocean east-west trade lane. Adani and the CWIT will bring in greater synergies and service offerings, thereby improving the overall supply chain.
The CEO of John Keel's Holdings said the DFC investment is an endorsement for the Sri Lankan economy.
It's a privilege for the John Keel's Group to be associated with the West Terminal project. So we are very confident that with the West Terminal as well, given the strategic location of the Colombo port, right next to the fast-growing economies of India and the other subcontinent countries, that the capacity of the West Terminal will also be absorbed very quickly. And there is potential for more new investment in the port to add further capacity. This investment by DFC is not only an endorsement of the potential of the West Terminal project, but also an endorsement for the Sri Lankan economy.
Adani Port and Special Economic Zone, along with its partner John Keel's, has signed the Build, Operate, Transfer Agreement in September 2021. The joining of the US International DFC in the development of CWIT would provide this new impetus to the project. We believe our collaboration is based on genuine spirit of partnership and shared objectives that signal our strong commitment to advance and develop CWIT. The cooperation between our major economies will enhance the overall business climate and the economy of Sri Lanka and boost the livelihood of millions of locals.
The total terminal area of the West Terminal is 65 hectares with an annual capacity of approximately 3.2 million TEU. In the first phase, the company will build an 800-meter long and 20-meter deep quay that can handle 1.6 million TEU annually. India's largest port operator will hold a 51% stake in the terminal and John Keel's Holdings will own 34%. The remaining 15% of the stake will be owned by SLPA.
U.S. Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chang, says that the Chinese Exim Bank restructuring proposal with Sri Lanka should be shared with the other creditors. She was speaking to exclusively on the People's Platform program on Newsfirst.
Sri Lanka is going through the IMF restructuring program, debt restructuring program as well. We hope that there is an equal, comparable approach by all creditors. We understand that China has pledged to share its Chinese Exim restructuring proposal with Sri Lanka with the other creditors. So we're all waiting to hear from that. And as soon as that information is shared and we're all on the same level playing field, I think the other creditors will be able to assess that and move forward. So we're looking forward to that discussion ongoing for Sri Lanka to move forward with the IMF restructuring and then be able to address some of its macroeconomic policies and governance issues of the past. And much progress has been made thus far, but to continue on that path. I think it's important not to quit at this juncture. I compare it to having taken antibiotics. You can't quit after 2 days of being sick and say, I feel better, no more medicine. Then the sickness will come back. And it's important to completely finish a comprehensive dose of antibiotics. So in that similar way, I think it's important to continue on the strong structural reforms that address good governance, transparency, anti-corruption, and to really make Sri Lanka well, not only well, but really be healthy and prosper.
The U.S. Ambassador to Sri Lanka also believes that presidential elections will be held in Sri Lanka next year.
We believe that timely elections are important to any democracy. And this is why we understand next year there will be presidential elections. We're also hoping, according to the Constitution, there will also be followed by local elections, parliamentary, provincial elections, all those things that give the people a voice to be able to express their opinion through the ballot box and to be able to choose their leadership. So we hope that the election stays on schedule next year and onwards, and we're looking forward to seeing that free and fair election, that culture of free and fair elections that's been in Sri Lanka for decades continue.
There's a strong opposition against the move to convert the Nuwara and Kandy post office buildings into hotels under the Taj Group, the Indian tourist hotel chain. Postal workers across the country went on a 48-hour strike to oppose this move. Meanwhile, the Secretary to the President issued an extraordinary gazette today declaring postal services as an essential service.
Postal services across the country were disrupted due to the token strike launched by postal workers. No activity was carried out in the Central Mail Exchange today, and the situation was similar in other provinces as well. The general public was inconvenienced by the strike. This strike was launched against a backdrop where leave of all postal workers had been cancelled for the next 3 days. What will happen to the Nuwara and Kandy post office buildings?
Nuwara is a popular tourist destination. Indian tourists come to visit Sita. Therefore, through the construction of a Taj Hotel here, the living conditions of the people of the province could be improved, more job opportunities will be created, and the number of income sources will also increase.
The United Postal Trade Unions Front responded to the statement of the cabinet spokesperson.
මේ ණය අරගෙන මේගොල්ලෝ තමන්ට අවශ්‍ය කරන සංවර්ධන ව්‍යාපෘති කරලා මංකොල්ල කාලා මේ ව්‍යාපෘති හරහා මේ ගත්ත.
We ask Minister Bandula Gunawardena whether the general public should pay for the mistakes made by politicians who have transformed themselves into millionaires by taking these loans and carrying out development projects as they wish. Ranil Wickremesinghe, when he assumed duties, had already made a decision. He is not a president who has a public mandate. Him becoming president was very unfortunate for the country. Given the opportunity, all they do now is attempt to sell off the country's resources. We must clearly state that these are not family property of the president. The country's people have not given the right to sell off the country's property.
අවස්ථාවේ රිසිසේමේ දේපල විකිණීමට තමයි කටයුතු කරන්නේ. ඒ නිසා අපි ජනාධිපතිවරයාගෙන් ඉතා ඕනෑකමින් ඉල්ලනවා ඔබතුමා සතු ඔබතුමාගේ පරම්පරාවේ දේපල නෙවෙයි මේවා මෙරටේ සමස්ත මහජනතාවගේ දේපල. ඒ නිසා මේවා විකිණීමට කිසිදු අයිතියක් ඔබතුමාන්ට මෙරටේ ජනතාව දීලා නැහැ.
Meanwhile, the Ceylon Postal Services Association had also convened a press conference today.
We continue to urge the government to withdraw the decision to give the Nuwara Elia and Kandy Postal Office buildings for a hotel project. We request the government not to privatize the postal service and destroy it.
The All Ceylon Post and Telegraph Workers Union says that the president has taken these decisions in a planned manner.
It is clear that what the president is planning is a business of distributing shares among his friends. We suggest as an alternative, there is a president's residence in Nuwara Elia. It has about 100 acres and we have no problem with it being given to a hotel chain.
Meanwhile, the United Postal Trade Unions Front visited the Mahanayaka of the Malwatu chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Thibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thero.
The president thinks that if a hotel is built here, it could attract more tourists. Every time he was elected, he would attempt to sell the buildings in Nuwara Elia and Kandy.
Today is day 2 of the 7th edition of the Gammadda Door-to-Door program. 3 teams with assistance from the University of Peradeniya visited villages in 3 separate districts.
Gammadda, made in Sri Lanka.
3 Gammadda Door-to-Door teams visited multiple villages in the districts of Kaluthara, Jaffna and Trincomalee. In Jaffna, the Gammadda Door-to-Door team visited the villages of Ponnale, Kalbilan and Sulipuram. Ponnale is a village of 210 families and the main issue they face is the lack of access to clean drinking water. There are 2 public wells for the entire village. However, the salinity levels of the water is high and cannot be consumed. In addition, the Ponnale preschool does not have a protective fence. The Gammadda Door-to-Door team discussed this issue with the teachers as well as the parents. At the same time, the villages of Arali and Kalbilan also face a perennial issue of lack of access to clean drinking water. The Gammadda Door-to-Door team in Kaluthara visited the areas of Payagala North, Halkandavila, Agalavatta and Matugama. Fishermen from Payagala North said that rising fuel prices have made it impossible for them to continue in their trade.
Fuel prices were increased on 4 occasions. People living inside glass houses do not understand our plight. Fishermen do not earn a massive amount to survive. We set out to seize on 2 days with government provided fuel, but we are also in debt.
The Gammadda Door-to-Door team in Trincomalee visited the villages of Kinnia, Puvarasamthiv, Sammavachathiv and Nallur. The lack of proper housing is the main issue faced by those living in the village of Puvarasamthiv. The entire area is covered with houses that use coconut leaves as roofs. Sammavachathiv is a village home to 1,265 families. Unfortunately, there is no proper access road to the village.
This is a road used by 5 surrounding villagers to travel from Kinnia to Nedunkeni. When it rains, children cannot use this road. Please renovate this road.
The Gammadda Door-to-Door teams will also visit many more villages tomorrow.
Meanwhile, a shortage of sugar is being reported from the Sri Lankan markets.
A shortage of sugar is reported against a backdrop where the wholesale market is not releasing sugar to the retail sector under the government-imposed control price. A shortage of sugar was reported after Sri Lanka's finance ministry decided to increase the special commodity levy imposed per kilogram of imported sugar from 25 cents to 50 rupees with effect from the 1st of November. In order to prevent a price surge in already imported sugar stocks, the finance ministry decided to impose a maximum retail price. As per the statement, a kilogram of non-packeted white sugar can be sold at a maximum retail price of 275 rupees, while a kilogram of unpacketed brown sugar can be sold at 330 rupees.
The Chief Executive Officer of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority, Dr. Vijit Gunasekara, has been removed from his post.
Sri Lanka's Health Secretary Janaka Sri Chandragupta, in a letter to Dr. Vijit Gunasekara dated Tuesday, had noted that he was moved to the Health Ministry with immediate effect. It added that Dr. Gunasekara was removed from the post of CEO as per the decision reached by the NMRA Board of Directors. However, speaking to Newsfirst, a member of the NMRA Board said that the Health Secretary had first inquired from the Board of Directors in writing on whether the services of Dr. Vijit Gunasekara were required any further. In response, the Board of Directors had noted that in order to rebuild the trust on the NMRA, the services of Dr. Vijit Gunasekara were no longer required. The Chairman, CEO and other officials at the NMRA faced allegations with regard to the importation of substandard medicines to the country. The NMRA Chairman was recently replaced with Dr. Ananda Vikrama. Prior to that, Keheliya Ramukwella was removed from the post of Health Minister. Dr. Vijit Gunasekara was earlier informed to step down. However, he refused to do so, and trade unions also alleged that he was involved in the shredding of sensitive documents at the NMRA.
Milinda Moragoda, who served as Sri Lanka's High Commissioner to India and returned to the country, visited Anuradhapura and paid reverence to the Jayasri Mahabodhi.
Milinda Moragoda called on the Attamasthanadipati, Most Venerable Pallegama Hemaratana Thero, and elaborated on his role as High Commissioner, adding that during his tenure, he managed to secure $4 billion in funding from India when the country experienced the economic crisis. During the meeting, it was revealed that if both countries operate with a vision on petroleum resources and electricity, it would provide benefits to Sri Lanka. In addition, Milinda Moragoda also presented a book comprising a collective of letters on the economy and social affairs to the Venerable Thero. Milinda Moragoda also engaged in a discussion with the Sri Lanka Bhikkhu College.
Day 43 of the second leg of the LOLC Divisavya program got underway today.
Today's program was held centering schools in the Nuwara district. School books and stationery items were provided to students from the Harasbedda Tamil Vidyalaya, Glendavon Tamil Vidyalaya, Konagar Pilliyar Tamil Vidyalaya, Gordon Tamil Vidyalaya and Saraswati Tamil Vidyalaya. School books and stationery items were also distributed at the Valapane Zonal Education Office under the LOLC Divisavya program. This worthy initiative is a collaboration between the LOLC group and the Ministry of Education.
And now in sports, England beat the Netherlands by 160 runs in the 40th match of the ICC Cricket World Cup 2023 at the Maharashtra Cricket Association Stadium. Cricket fans can watch and listen to all the action of the World Cup while MTV NBC Networks, the official local broadcast rights holder of the tournament. These matches are also being streamed live on www.sirisatv.lk. And with that, we wrap up Primetime News for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Do take care and good night.